Well, shall we call this meeting to order then? And we will, I just got the agenda pulled up and found. We'll do the roll call.
Okay, Tony Roos.
Here. Here.
Mark Carlton.
Here.
Casper. Wait a minute, someone just. Roger Kuhlman.
Here.
Neil Klein is joining
Here.
us.
Just in the nick of time.
Greg Stifler.
Here.
Jeff Greider.
Present.
Leslie Woodruff.
Here.
Brett Adkins.
Here.
Jesse Cad.
Here.
And that would be, so everybody present except for Casper. I will note that as of January 5th, Casper is now a voting member of the commission. All of the student commissioners are now voting members. So
They weren't before?
they were not before,
Oh, well, fantastic.
but the council changed that. So he is now a voting
That's
member.
awesome.
So we just have to make sure we count that in when we're doing all of our votes. So.
All right, well, let's start tonight with a pledge of allegiance. So find a flag in your general direction, stand up and join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the
of the
flag
United
of the
States
United
of
States
America,
of America,
and to the republic
to the republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
and justice.
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Well, we have some new members tonight, and I know the things as public comments, but I think everybody that's on here are commissioners, new and old, right?
There are no public joining us, at least so far tonight.
Okay. Can I go out of order a little bit or off script and just do a quick round of introductions to everybody since we're not in person and didn't have our pre-meeting pre-funk?
Yeah.
That's a Karen saying yes. Okay.
You're
So,
the chair.
I'll start. My name is Tony Roos. I am a civil engineer, lived in Newburgh since '99. Been on Traffic Safety Commission, I think, for 5 years now, somewhere in that range. Nowhere near as long as Neil. I think he started when he started growing his beard out there. That's pretty impressive, Neil. We'll go with the existing members first and then jump back and pick up, have the new members join us. So Mark.
Hello, I'm Mark Carlton. I've lived in Newberg for 6 years, worked here for 20 years. I don't think I got on the Traffic Commission within a year or so after I moved here, but I was also on the Traffic Safety Commission in Tigard, where I lived previously before I moved out here.
Fantastic. Leslie.
All right. Good evening. Thanks. I'm Leslie Woodruff. I don't know how long I've been on the commission, quite a number of years. I also started not long after I moved here in 2006. Since then, I've had 2 girls. The first one is now in high school. Took a break from the traffic safety for a while. I was on city council and do other volunteering things around the city and community. And I've been, with traffic safety with a particular interest and concern for bicycle and pedestrian concerns, since that is my primary mode of transportation around town.
Thank you. Roger.
Thanks. I'm Roger Coleman. I'm a, excuse me, a retired electrical engineer. Live in the Greens neighborhood over by the golf course. Joined the commission about 2 years ago or so. And main concern is speeding in the neighborhoods and the effects of the bypass in our neighborhood.
Neil.
I'm Neil Klein. I am a recently retired firefighter paramedic. Lived in Newburgh since about 1982 when I came here to go to college. Got married and stayed, and been on the fire department here previously, and worked for the old hospital when it was on the villa as a paramedic. And I've been on the committee since about 2009, I believe, back when wheels were still made out of stone. So yeah, it's been a good run.
Jeff.
Hi there, my name is Jeff Greider. I use he, him pronouns. I am a public safety officer at Portland Community College. I've been there for about 20 years. I've been in Newburgh for about 10. I've been on the Traffic Safety Commission since 2014. And I think that's all. I had a giant beard until a couple weeks ago. Now I look more like my photo.
All right, well, I'll start going off the color of the shapes of my screen, the Brady Bunch screen here. Go with Brett up on the top right.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Brett Adkins. I am Director of Technology for a nearby school district in Clackamas County, and lived in Newburgh for about 4 years now, off Highway 240, just outside of city limits. My wife and I are looking to get more involved into our community, and we thought this was a good opportunity. So she's doing some stuff with the school district, and I'm volunteered to work with you guys. I'm happy to be here.
Fantastic. Jesse.
Hey everyone, Jesse Cat here. I've been around Newburgh kind of my whole life, but I grew up overseas in the Philippines. My grandparents went to Fox. My parents went to Fox. I went to Fox, and met my wife and got married. Bought our first house here in Newburgh. We're here for about I don't know, 3 or 4 years, and then moved into Portland. Eventually went overseas again, working for the U.S. military in various countries around the world as in IT, and just came back last year. And so I've been here about a year now, and yeah, just very interested in what's going on in Newburgh these days and being a part of the community and helping out wherever I can. So glad to be here.
Fantastic, welcome. And Greg.
Hi, I'm Greg Stifler. I've lived in Newburgh since about 2006. I worked for the city for 10 to 12 years, something like that. Now I work for the city of Hillsborough. I'm an IS systems analyst. My time is dedicated to their public works department. So most of my job revolves around asset management, which when I was trying to figure out how to get involved, traffic safety is a good spot for that. My headset wasn't working until right before roll call. I could see people talking. So if you were talking to me, I apologize that I didn't respond. I could not hear you.
And our esteemed staff that we have with us, Karen Hoffman and Brian Hagan. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. Karen Hoffman, I'm the city engineer. And we moved the staff liaison around in engineering. This is year 2 or 3 on this round for me. I was the liaison, and we offered that opportunity up to somebody else, and I'm back again. Been at Newburgh for 7 years now, I think. And was at another city prior to that for almost 19. So I've been working for smaller cities for most of my career. So with that, Sergeant Hagan.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. My name is Brian Hagan. I'm a patrol sergeant here with Newburgh Dundee Police. I've worked with Newburgh for about 5 years now, and I'm currently assigned as the traffic team sergeant. So with that assignment comes my association here with the Traffic Safety Committee. And so I try to join into these meetings as they arise and answer any questions as they come up. Sometimes I'm better at answering questions and than other times. Other times I need a little bit more preparation and time to get data together for you as issues come up. But I'm happy to work behind the scenes and do that for you. I'm currently on duty, so as I've given disclaimers in the past, sometimes I have to shut off and leave. So don't take it personally if I suddenly go away, because there are calls going on out there and sometimes I have to leave. But
You can't just turn your body cam on and live stream what you're doing as a traffic safety operator. What would be better
no.
for traffic
Sometimes
safety?
I actually have to go out and be out in the world. So I try not to in the middle of a meeting. But again, if my screen goes dark, it's nothing personal. It's just I had to go.
All right, well, on to our regular agenda items. And the first up is a new year comes an opportunity for a new chair and a new vice chair. So, Karen, what's the procedure here to do that? Open nominations for chair or vice chair first?
We open nominations for chair first.
Okay, so any nominations for chair for the year 2022?
Tony, if you want to do it again, I'll nominate you.
I would do it again if nobody else is wanting to do it. But it won't break my heart if somebody else wants to be chair.
I'll second that.
Your heart's gonna break?
No.
Oh.
I second the nomination.
Any other nominations from the floor? All right, hearing none, guess we'll vote on chair. All in favor of me returning as chairman for 2022, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right.
Can
guess
I,
that carries.
just for the record, was that unanimous? Did anybody say no? All right, for the record, I needed to know that.
All right, and nominations for vice chair. And current vice chair is Leslie, for those that were questioning.
Same story. If she wants to do it again, I'd be happy to nominate her.
Just like Tony, I'm happy to keep doing it unless there's someone else who would like to be vice chair, which basically just means you take over running the meeting if the chair is not available.
Or he leaves halfway through the meeting.
Right.
I'll second that nomination.
Any other nominations? All right, well, that closed. All in favor of Leslie continuing as our vice chair, say aye or raise your right paw or both.
Aye.
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 All opposed? I think that's unanimous as well, Karen.
Thank you.
All right. Calendar dates for the year. And that was sent in our packet today, or late December, early December, I guess I carried over. We're going to stay virtual, plan to be virtual for the year. Who knows what's happening when, so we'll just make a plan to move forward virtually. If it changes down the road and we feel safe to be together, we can change that. But it looks like we're January 10th, that's today. And then we'll maintain a quarterly call, April 11th, July 11th, and October 10th. I'll tell you that July 11th is going to get me in a lot of trouble. It's my wife's birthday. So Leslie will be running that one, or I'm going to have to be full-time divorced. So any questions or comments about the dates? Do we need to vote on that, Karen?
It's part of the consent calendar, so you could vote on that and the minutes, assuming there are no comments on the minutes at the same time,
Okay.
if you so chose.
Any comments from the?
I would just,
Oh, go ahead.
I would point out that October 10th appears to be Indigenous Peoples Day / Columbus Day. I don't know if that's an issue for folks. I don't have a problem with it.
It is not a holiday for the city,
Okay,
so.
we'll follow the city's holiday program. All right, and then the meeting minutes, any comments on that? On them from October? All right, do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar then?
So moved.
Second.
Leslie with a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right.
Opposed? All right, carries unanimously, Carmen. On to staff report. So Sergeant Hagan, police.
I don't have a whole lot to add. I tried to throw in some stats for you guys as I get them, for what it's worth and the relevancy to traffic safety. I don't have the full year's numbers, but I can guesstimate based on for the whole year of 2021, Newburgh Dundee Police issued about 2,100 traffic citations, which resulted from nearly 5,000 traffic stops throughout the year. We had 800 arrests of adults, and 112 of those were DUIs, drunk drivers. So if you're into stats and numbers for the year of 2021, it's a little bit of some information for you. But other than that, I don't have anything current going on to talk about.
So being more traffic safety on, is there a way you can pull data for the year of crashes and pedestrian and bicyclist involved, non-motor vehicle?
I don't know that our crash data is categorized that specifically, but I could go through and see how many specific crashes there were throughout the year. And then I don't think it would be too hard to go through each one and determine which category it would fall in, whether that be pedestrian or vehicular. I can look into that.
That'd be great. And then the other question I have, knowing that we've talked in the past of a 20 is plenty campaign, you know, the setting the citywide speed limit at 20, how many of the 5,000 or 2,100 citations were for speeding on local roads, not on 99 or 219 or 240?
That, again, we'll have to do some data mining, and I will look into that for sure to see if I can break it down to that specific. I do know that the bulk of our citations are either for speeding or distracted driving issues.
So that's another one to think about how we can help improve that.
Right. But yeah, as in terms of, you know, formulating what you guys want to do with that Vision Zero program and the 20 is plenty, I can see where that data would be useful. So I'll try to mine for that.
Great. If nothing else gives us a bar if we're doing things good to make it better. It'd be nice to have a metric to stand against.
Yes, for
See
sure.
some weight in.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anything else for us? Oh, Roger.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wondered, how's the staffing level for the traffic enforcement? Is that stable, increase, decrease, or so over the last year?
In the last year, it was a one-person unit, which was Tom Sattler, and we doubled that to 2 over the last year. So we have 2 full-time traffic units who are dedicated solely to traffic enforcement. So they're out of the call rotation, and what that means is they don't respond to normal calls for service unless there's some traffic element to it. Otherwise, they're supposed to be available for traffic enforcement issues. I'm the traffic enforcement sergeant, so I try to be out there as much as I can, but that doesn't necessarily mean I have the availability that they do. So in answer to your question, there's 2 full-time traffic units, traffic officers for our police agency. They work 7 days a week. They just split. One person works one half of the week and the other guy works the other half of the week. We're trying to get traffic units historically here have been daytime operations. It was my point of view coming from a different agency that traffic enforcement doesn't stop at 5 p.m. And so I've tried to get people out past 5, and we've seen some benefit with that, particularly with DUI enforcement, because that typically occurs between the early evening hours up until 2 o'clock in the morning. And so I've tried to get our at least one of our traffic personnel to be out to at least 11 at night, and that has been beneficial as far as nabbing DUIs.
Great, that was gonna be my kind of next question is have you seen an effect of an increased at least preventing or stopping accidents because of this?
Our crash data doesn't seem to have any big spikes that I can see. I mean, we all hear the stories of problem intersections, and certainly when something really bad happens, you hear about it in the news. But overall, our crash data isn't. We don't see a lot of spikes. Something that would normally be concerning from a law enforcement perspective. They're all concerning. We'd like them to be zero, but DUI enforcement, that's something that we have seen some increases in. There's a lot of drunk people driving around, and it's not just at nighttime. And the problem is it's not just alcohol either. There's other substances that are on board that people are driving around with, and they're crashing into people. They crashed into one of our officers. I brought that up at our last meeting. Almost totaled one of our police cars and put a guy on light duty for a month. And so it's certainly an issue that we're trying to address, but I think there's some greater societal stuff going on that's getting people to turn to alcohol and drugs right now. And unfortunately, they're getting behind the wheel of the car. And as best we can, we try to solve it, but sometimes we can't get them all.
Any other questions?
Tony, Greg's got his hand up.
I missed that, Greg.
Thank you. Hey, Ryan, are you able to summarize kind of what the situation was like during winter weather? How many weather-related accidents or collisions there were, and road safety in general?
Again, I don't have any hard data and numbers, just coming. I worked almost I was on graveyard shift last rotation, so I worked on the nights and during the holidays. I have to say, I was sort of surprised with the recent snow and ice that there wasn't more crashes. It seemed like people in our local area seemed to handle it okay. The people who were crashing were people who were not from our area and were not familiar with the roads, and would just simply slide off the road, and being not familiar with the location. So in that respect, that's good news. I don't have any, I can't independently think of any serious vehicle crashes. Fortunately, knock on something, we're not talking about any fatalities in our jurisdiction. That isn't true for everywhere in the county, but fortunately in the Newburgh Dundee jurisdiction, I'm fortunate to say we don't have any traffic fatalities, and it's been several years since I've heard of one. So that's good. We want to keep that going. So I don't know what to attribute that to, if that's just getting lucky, or people in our area are smarter, or we try to be visible and present out and about. We do a lot of traffic stops for a police agency, believe it or not. And so maybe it's a combination of everything, but so far so good. We'd like to keep that going though.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Leslie, I have to disappear, so I'll hand the reins off to you, and Karin can give her engineering update. And I'll
Okay.
catch up with you later.
Sounds
you all.
good. Thanks, Tony. Have a good night.
Bye.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Brian.
Mhm.
Karin, let's hear about engineering.
All right, so for those of you who are new, we do keep a citizen issue log, and this is something that when we get emails in the office or phone calls about issues that people have, concerns, we try and keep this up to date. I'll actually show it, and then we bring you an update at every meeting. I'm trying to figure out how to make it more live on the website. I haven't quite figured out how to make that happen, but so this is, like I said, this is a record of the issues that we've heard and the resolutions that we've made or not, as the case may be. So the last several have been, there have been some speeding concerns. The ones that we've gotten the data results back on show that people generally aren't speeding in those locations. That's specifically at Winooski, the Greens Avenue, Dayton Avenue. And I think those are the only ones. I think we've still got Fernwood is in the works soon. So just kind of know that that's where we are with those. The other one that I wanted to note on here was at the last meeting, you spoke about abandoned vehicles. And I believe Brett sent you all the information from the city attorney. Is that correct? Did he get that out to you guys? No? Okay. So basically we requested information from the city attorney about what the traffic safety's role in what we would consider abandoned vehicles or vehicles that have been parked for more than 72 hours at a time. And the short answer is, one of your tasks is to make recommendations to the council for code changes or things, other traffic safety changes that you think would be beneficial to the city. So as part of your charge, you could make a recommendation that we take to the council to change the code that changes the definition of abandoned vehicle, the 72 hours and how that all works. Obviously, we would want to work with the police department to make sure whatever the definition we come up with is something that they can work with, as they would be the ones that would be out there enforcing that. But I wanted to let this group know that we can certainly talk about that some more if you wanted to move forward with changing code or definitions on that and that type of thing. So I just wanted to let this group know that. And then, so that's the active issues log. Again, if you have any questions on what's on here, let me know. And then other project updates. This is where I kind of give you an idea of other projects that we have going on in the city that have to do with traffic safety or traffic or transportation. Safe Routes to School. We are still working through that grant, and that is the, we have money that is available to help provide sidewalks and some safer crossings down near Edwards Elementary School. And so we are still working through that. That would be basically on Blaine and 6th Street. Ooh, excuse me. To moving forward with that project. Should be under construction this summer. Pavement wise in general, so this past year we did do a bunch of crack and slurry seal. The big projects for pavement was we started on Sheridan Street. I always get Sheridan and Sherman mixed up. I don't know why, but for what they get mixed up in my head. And we're actually doing both. So we're doing one of them this year and along with 6th Street. And then we are working on Franklin will be underway here in the next month along with Willamette between 3rd and 4th. And then the major projects this summer will be Sherman and then Berkshire from 99W to the roundabout at Hayes. So those are the major pavement projects that we'll be doing in the next little while. We are still working on the fleshing out what the next 5 years will look like after this summer. And along with that, when we're doing these larger paving projects, we do the ADA ramps at the same time. To provide that. That's based on federal law, that if we're doing improvements to the roadway, we have to install the ADA facilities also. So those projects are going on. We are finishing up the sidewalks around Scott Levitt Park. We did the sidewalks themselves on the park side this summer. We still need to do the ADA ramps on the opposite sides of the streets on all those corners. Unfortunately, the weather got away from us, so they'll be back in the spring to finish that work up. And then we did actually also as part of the American Rescue, I don't remember what ARPA stands for. The ARPA money is that we did from the state, Representative Bill Post, who was our representative, got us a grant for $400,000 to do the ADA ramps on Meridian Street. We'll start at Hancock and work our way north, as far north as we can get, hopefully all the way to Fulton, and get all of the ADA ramps in place and put in to allow for really that pedestrian access from Friendsview, that area, starting down that all the way down to downtown. And if we have money left over after we get the ADA ramps done, we'll there's a couple of gaps in the sidewalks, and we'll take care of those too while we're at it. So that was a nice bonus that we got to get that taken care of. We do have quite a bit of other projects in our ADA plan that we're trying to work through and get to. And it's partly a matter of money and just kind of working through those critical routes and getting those things taken care of. On top of that, for the other sidewalk thing, if you did not get a postcard, you probably are getting one soon. We did put together $50,000 worth of grants for people to help fix their sidewalks in front of their properties. And we actually have 50,000 in grants and 50,000 in loans. The grants have been all allocated for this year. But we plan to have the money available again July 1. So those of you who did not get an opportunity to participate and would like to participate, be looking for that information to come back up on the website. But we'll definitely have money again July 1 to help with those sidewalks to get those taken care of. College Street. Again, this is an ODOT project. It is supposed to be out to bid in the fall. And it's extending the sidewalks from Aldercrest, where it ends now, up to probably Quail Drive is the extent at this point. It's sidewalks on the west side and bike lanes on both sides for that extent. So that project is moving forward again, out to bid in the fall. So my assumption would be construction in spring, summer of 2023. You believe we're talking about 2022 already, we're there. And then for this group, Elliott Road, we are currently out to bid on Elliott Road. And this project is to build sidewalks and bike lanes from the signal at 99W up to the high school. What I will tell this group is that the council is looking to talk about the project again on January 18th, and looking at the possibility of not moving forward with the project. I don't know where they'll land, but they have asked to bring it back to that group again for conversation. So if you have an opinion or you want to express your opinion, January 18th is on their agenda, which just came out today to talk about that. So any other projects, questions? We have a couple other projects that are coming, but we haven't started them yet. And that is the feasibility of what we're going to do at Illinois 240 Main Street, that intersection. We do have money in the budget to hire a consultant to help us look at options, and then, but it will be very heavy on obviously public involvement, talking to the neighborhood, the neighbors out there about what that should look like. ODOT will have to be involved in that discussion because obviously Main Street and 240 are their roadways. I know things that have come up before have been a couple of signals, doing some kind of staggered signals, maybe it's a roundabout. There could be any number of things that we'll work through with that project. I think that's all I know of project-wise for this group. Looks like Roger has his hand up.
Thank you, Carter. Recently, I saw that the city is working on a tree trimming or street tree trimming project. Do you have any more details about that, or what's going on there, or how that's working, or how that's going to work?
It's a good question. That's part of it's happening through our maintenance department. So the requirement is the trees, actually anything is supposed to be, there should be 8 foot of clearance between the sidewalk and anything that overhangs the sidewalk. And a lot of trees, obviously, as they grow up, they don't quite make it. And we have to trim those up until we get that 8 foot of clearance. And I believe our maintenance department is looking at trying to come through and take care of some of those. I don't know if they're planning to do all of them or just areas that they know are issues, but I can ask that question and get that information back to you.
Thank you.
Karn, I've got a question back on the active issues log, actually. There was a couple of entries about the speeding that you had mentioned, Wynewski, and it said that there was the average speed and also the 85th percentile speed. And I was curious, what's the difference?
So average would be just, they take all of them, all of the speeds and divide it by however many.
Okay, so just the mathematical average.
Yeah, just
okay.
the mathematical average. The 85th percentile is this weird, I don't know, technical thing that they came up with. And the idea is that if 85% of the people are going that speed or below, that means that that's generally the right speed limit, if that makes sense. Anytime we set speed limits, that that's the number that has been looked at in the past. And the idea is if most of the people feel like it's comfortable to go 25, that's probably what the speed limit should be. If most of the people think it's comfortable going 35, then maybe that's what the speed limit should be. So I'm not sure where the 85th percentile came into being more than 30 years ago, but that's kind of just the number.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Karn before we move on to our new business? Okay, so new business. Let's see. Oh, we've got our mission statement. Let's see. I am once again, I remember this from a few months ago. I'm on my phone again tonight, so it takes me a second to get to it. There we go. So the mission statement is in our packet. Karn, is there a date? I couldn't find a date on this. Do you have any idea when this was last written or updated?
It was last updated in actually 2011.
Okay.
Is the last time this portion of the traffic safety was updated, was 2011.
Okay, so that was a while ago. Yeah, if we'll give just a second here for folks to look through it again if you didn't have a chance earlier, or just refresh yourself. And so this is a good opportunity tonight to look at it, see, is this still relevant? Do we want to make changes, additions, deletions? I think tonight, whatever changes we do make, let's draft those and then have a written copy ready for us to read as a clean copy for our next meeting. Okay, whoops.
I'm sorry, I don't know how to raise my hand yet. I'm still figuring that out.
Go ahead. Like I said, I'm on my phone. I can't even see you at the
Sure.
moment. I'm getting back to Zoom.
Sure. Quick question. I don't know, maybe I'm totally off on this, but my understanding was the mission of a commission, like we are, is set by the city council. Is that correct? Do we have the authority to alter this?
If you wanted to make alterations, we would take it to the council and they would ultimately have to decide that.
Okay, cool.
So, and Jesse, if you're on a laptop, I don't know what type of device you're on. If you go down to the bottom of the screen, there might be a raise hand thing. Okay.
Yeah, it was hidden under the more menu. Sorry.
I understand completely. And then every device, it's in a slightly different location. So, you know, you always have to go, maybe it's there. So yeah, no, it would be, you would make recommendations and we would then draft that up and take that to the city council for them to approve those revisions if you had any you wanted to make.
One thing I was noticing that is not in the mission statement that I think is an important thing to be clear about is that one of the main things we do as a traffic safety is respond to resident concerns. You know, this is a very responsive group. If someone has a problem with some sort of traffic safety issue, they can come straight to us and we can, you know, problem solve. We're able to, you know, talk with the city engineering department and the police department and, you know, bring a lot of people all together at once to see if we can find a problem. We are all residents ourselves. And so I would like to add something to that effect, that we respond to resident concerns. Any other comments or additions or deletions for the mission statement? Okay.
All right, so I will figure out a place to put that and then I'll get that again out to this group for you guys to give me the head nod or that kind of thing. And then, like I said, there is so this is in the Newburgh Municipal Code, which means that there is a process we have to go through, and it's called an ordinance, is what makes changes to the municipal code. Which means that there's a public hearing at the city council, and they look at it and they can do it in what they have, what's called a first and second reading. Something like this, they would generally do in one meeting unless there was a lot of feedback and concern for some reason. But obviously when we go to the council, I would want the chair, vice chair, or somebody else from the commission to come and present that. You know, I'll put together the words and all that kind of stuff, but since it would be your guys's proposed change, you should be the one to present that to the council.
Yeah, I'd be happy to go, Karn. That's fine.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, great, thank you. Next item of new business is talking about work plan. Not only do we respond to resident concerns, which tonight there really aren't any, but we in the past have chosen some topics or concerns or traffic issues that are important to this group and make a plan to work on those. Maybe it's an education plan or something to do with enforcement. So I'll just open the floor for a minute. If there are any ideas of things people would like to learn more about, or maybe take some action of some kind, really, you know, it could be anything. Oh, Roger, go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. I see, you know, on our agenda, I see under old business, the Vision Zero rollout continued discussion. that's something I'd like to see us continue to work on and gather more information about how that's working in other communities and if it might be appropriate for Newburgh. You know, we've had a bit of discussion from the city of Eugene, and I think other cities are working on this and maybe getting more information about how it's working in other cities and if it is effective. Thank you.
Right. So if anyone's not familiar with that phrase, Vision Zero refers to 0 deaths. And how can we achieve that vision of having 0 traffic deaths? So at our previous meeting, we had a presentation from, as Roger said, from the city of Eugene about what they've done so far to implement speeding changes in neighborhoods primarily to reduce the speeds in residential streets. And that speaker had some mixed opinions on how well it's working. I think it was a great start to just opening our thoughts to this idea.
Leslie, Jesse's hands up.
Thank you. Jesse, go ahead.
Figured it out. Yeah, so I was going to ask that question. Thank you for clarifying what Vision Zero is a vision of. What exactly should be 0. So I remember earlier, Sergeant Hagan, you mentioned that we had very few deaths, or there haven't been very many deaths actually related to traffic incidents in Newburgh for quite some time. So I was curious what instigated the bringing up of the Vision Zero discussion in the first place, since I wasn't here for it.
That is a great question. I'm not sure. That might have, maybe, was that Tony's idea?
Actually, I think it was Rogers.
Yeah, and I think that's
okay.
One of the concerns our neighborhood has been having is that, although we've had a couple of traffic counts and the 85% number seems to be at 25, I think there's a number of times, especially around the park area and other things where there is excessive speeds, even though it's not being caught by when they do the targeted traffic counts or whatever they're doing. So the concern was, what are other cities doing about this? And I know that a few years ago, the city of Portland was able to actually get a change in the state laws that would allow them to set speeds separate from the Department of Transportation. And so that was kind of their discussion. How can we handle things locally to meet our needs or meet the needs of our citizens? And the discussion is about, in neighborhoods, is it necessary to be 25 miles an hour, even though 20 may be a more safer speed to have, like around school zones and that kind of thing. And maybe it's also a safer thing, although we've not had any fatalities in the neighborhoods. We have a lot of children that play in the streets and stuff, and we can find ways to reduce the potential. I think that's what that's what I was looking for.
Thank you, Roger. Other ideas about a work plan or particular topics, issues that you might like to learn more about? Okay. Seeing none. Well then, okay, Vision Zero. We've had one presentation so far from one city about how they've approached it and why, kind of the reasons behind reducing speeds was the main part of the presentation that we heard last time, but it's definitely a multifaceted program. We could do some research to find other cities or other communities who have implemented a Vision Zero plan and hear more about how they have done it, what has worked, what hasn't worked, what they wish they could have done, what they're glad they did do. We can, let's see, what else can we do? Learning is always a good first step. You know, if this is something that we think we want to promote at some point to city council, you know, the general process would be, you know, make a recommendation to council to adopt the Vision Zero plan. And so I think it would be good for our group to spend some time coming up with a few more specifics of, you know, why this is important, how we might be able to implement it. Karen, do you have any input?
Yeah, I think the other thing we probably need to think about also is talking with your neighbors, your friends and family that live in town, and you know, what do they see as important in order to make the Vision Zero? I know we've talked about you know, reducing speeds in neighborhoods to 20 miles per hour maybe, but there, as you noted, there are lots of other things that can be done, whether it's sidewalks, whether it's street lighting, you know, there's a lot of different facets to making that happen, and what they feel are important. Because if we come up with a work plan and this is where we want to go as a commission, we're going to have to take it pieces at a time, and we're really going to have to engage our community engagement folks in how do we roll this out. You know, part of it is education, as you noted. How do we roll that out and get the rest of the community engaged and educated about it, and where do we go from here? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I just have a question. And if you look at our minutes from last meeting, we talked about that we would like to get more information about Vision Zero. And I assumed that staff would be providing that information or getting that information out to us. I haven't seen anything more other than the discussion we had with the city of Eugene. I was looking for some more information about the process and the you know, why would we want to look at Vision Zero and that kind of thing, and what all might be included. So I was looking for more staff to put together more information for the commission on this.
So what I will say is there are very few cities our size that have taken this on. This has been more of a larger jurisdiction, Eugene, Portland, a lot of places in Europe have taken it on in a variety of different ways. So, but yeah, I can bring back some additional information. I would also look for you guys may have heard something that I didn't hear, and making sure that we have all of that information. So I can certainly put together some more information for you. Like I said, I keep looking for other jurisdictions within Oregon that have kind of, you know, about our size, because that was one of the comments I know that came up was, you know, Eugene is pretty big, right? And so is Portland. Are there other jurisdictions that have taken it on in Oregon? And I haven't found any yet. So I keep looking. I keep, but I can certainly come back and bring, keep looking for that and come back with other things other than just reducing speeds to 20. Some of those other aspects of that Vision Zero.
Yeah, I think that's what we were looking for. That was the first time I'd ever heard of this Vision Zero program, and we were looking for more details about the program, not just speeding or that kind of thing. There's probably, it just looked like it was a pretty comprehensive program. And
I apologize, I was not at the last meeting, so I will make sure I get some information for you guys.
Great, thank you.
And that's also a great suggestion to, you know, give ourselves some homework. Who knows what we all know or might be able to come across in our different searches. Everybody words things differently, or you have, you know, different resources that you know about or might come across. So if we can give ourselves a little bit of homework over the next few months, if we come across, or if we take a few minutes to look for Vision Zero ideas or concepts or cities that have implemented it, then we can contribute that at our next meeting. Mark, it looks like you've got your hand raised.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, might be a little slow in the uptake, but it just occurred to me when I was looking at the things, the opportunities that we might work on. You know, there's several of us, you and I included, who are interested in alternate forms of transportation and bicycle and pedestrian. And I think, you know, there's some discussion about bringing better bus traffic, bus transit to Newburgh. But since our last meeting, I had a trip to Europe. I was lucky enough to get over there when it was allowed and get home when that was allowed. So I made it back into the country. But we were in Amsterdam, and I was just floored at the level of bicycle riding there. Now, one thing, it's flat. So, you know, half the country is below sea level. So, you know, they don't know what a mountain looks like, let alone a hill. But so I was talking to some of the local people about, you know, what did it take to get all the, they have not, they don't just have bike lanes, they have specific roads built into the city just for bicycles. And, you know, you learn if you cross a bicycle lane or road, you know, you have to be on the lookout because it's high traffic.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about our long-term philosophy projects, and I didn't see anything on our list about non-auto promoting non-automotive transportation. I know a lot of times, you know, a town our size, it's not very popular or not very economical, but it's something to discuss anyway.
Yeah,
That's
great
all I had.
suggestion. All right, thank you, Mark. Let's see, Greg, I see your hand, and then Neil, did you have a hand up? You want to go after Greg? Okay, go ahead, Greg.
All right, thank you. Talking about the Vision Zero, if the goal of Vision Zero is to have zero traffic fatalities, traffic related fatalities, being that we haven't had any in quite some time, I would like to know when the last one was and what the cause of that, maybe even the last 5 to 10, what those causes were. If those were 5-10 years ago, something along those lines. So if the goal is to get down to zero, and we currently are down to zero, I would like to know what the cause of the previous ones were. Brian, is that something that you could bring to the next meeting?
You want data about the last known traffic fatality?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was before I worked here, and from what I've heard, it was a child in a baby carriage that got struck by a motor vehicle, and that was in 2000. I want to say 11-ish, but it's been. I've been here 5 years, and it was over 5 years ago because I was asking around the office if anyone can remember the last traffic fatality in the Newburgh city limits, and it was at least that long ago.
Okay.
Now there's plenty of them that happen out in the county all the time, but because of, you know, we're talking specifically the city limits of Newburgh and Dundee. That's and it's just because, you know, we don't have the rural roads and the speeds that go along with that, and it's speed that causes death, and it's distracted driving, and it's driving under the influence. Those 3 specific things are the causes of people who die on the road.
Gotcha.
Typically.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, great question, Greg. Jesse, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I guess that kind of just, as I've been thinking about it as we've been going along here, the main thing that I'm I'm concerned about is if we go to the effort of adopting some sort of big program like a Vision Zero type thing, if we are creating a solution in search of a problem, if there is a real problem, then yeah, we need to come up with some plans to address it and some measures to address those. But if the issue of the traffic fatalities doesn't seem to be a real problem, then maybe we should look at what are the current major issues concerning safety in the town, and then craft our solutions more directed towards those specific issues, as opposed to taking kind of a generic approach that's more intended to deal with fatalities in general, versus the actual issues we have going on in our town. So that's all. Those are my thoughts so far.
Yeah. Thank you, Jesse and Greg, for that perspective. That's a really good question. This makes me think about, Neil, you're going to nod your head. There's something that's related to this concept of Vision Zero and safe streets. It's called Complete Streets, and it involves traffic safety and the multimodal transportation, bike and ped and, ADA access. There's also a component of economic vitality. A complete street is where anybody can go on a street and do something safely and enjoyably. People want to be there. A good example, I think a pretty good example might be 3rd Street at McMinnville. It's a vibrant, economic business. It's a slow traffic area, pedestrian facilities, the protected crosswalks across, just off the top of my head. And so a lot of the goals and methods related to this complete street concept are very similar to goals and methods that might be found with the Vision Zero program as well. And I know that Newberg engineering does use a lot of the goals and methods of the complete street program already. So maybe that could be something we could hear more about, is, more details about the complete street concept, and then what is Newberg doing to implement those so that it's safe, it's walkable. We've got streetlights, as Karn mentioned. It's safe, pleasant, inviting in a nutshell, and beneficial for everybody.
Leslie, I wanted to go back to Neil. Did you still have your hand up? Did you have something you wanted to say?
I guess just a couple of items.
Okay.
One, going back to the Vision Zero, I was wondering if the gentleman from Eugene, I didn't see the presentation last meeting, if he talked at all about financial impact that they had to incur to be able to get their Vision Zero goal. It just seems like, in my mind, reducing the speed limit sign from 25 to 20 doesn't persuade everybody to fall in line. So I don't know if they added speed bumps, speed humps, roundabouts, things like that. And then to back up Leslie's comment about the street thing, it's a great program. I think, if I remember correctly, didn't we take that to council some years ago and kind of try to get their buy-in on it? But we kind of,
Probably.
Yeah, I think we did. The problem we kind of ran into, and I think engineering ran into, council ran into, everybody ran into, is that we're stifled by old infrastructure in Newburgh of narrow streets that are pretty much locked in. And I don't know a lot of citizens in the city of Newburgh who would be willing to contribute, 5 feet of their front lawn to widen the street to allow bicycle access and stuff. And so it's a resounding, thing that we kind of run into was the infrastructure problem. So it's a great idea. And, we did a lot of research back in the day and saw a lot of stuff on, I can't remember, there were foreign countries that have totally maximized it and done a fantastic job with it. but they had a lot more space to work with. We just don't. I think the challenge, I'm not trying to say that we shouldn't look at it or that we shouldn't research it, but it's just one of those things where we need to think outside the box with it, because we're going to have some challenges here in the city that other places are not going to have, and they're going to be a lot more successful with it. I think since then, like you said, engineering has got it on their list of things to look at, and I have seen improvements, and I think there have been improvements based on that, but I don't think we're going to see the success unless we really do some, major renovations in the town.
Yeah.
So.
Good point, Neil. Thank you. Mark.
Leslie, I just wanted, what I recall from the gentleman from Eugene, I just wanted to share my big takeaway from something to think about was just the sheer economic impact on changing out all the speed limit signs in all the residential areas. I think the figure that stuck in my mind was it was close to $50,000 a sign. Did I make that up? Something like it would. You have no idea. You think you take down one sign and you put up another, but just so. My big takeaway was, wow, that's a lot of money just to change signs. We could build, how many feet of sidewalks could we build with that money? For instance.
Our minutes, it talks about, so he estimated about $200 per sign.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know where I got, maybe 50,000 was the whole budget. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, just wanted to point that out for those that weren't there. Thank you.
One thing to keep in mind as we work through that is we don't have speed limit signs in all of our neighborhoods. So we would be adding quite a few throughout town if we went to a point where we were adopting a 20-mile-per-hour speed zone. And then I know that the police department would also have to deal with, the enforcement of that. So that's
Right.
the other piece of the puzzle.
Could I add a couple comments?
Yes, please.
Okay. I certainly don't want any more traffic fatalities than we would ever have to deal with. But I heard the comments from the guy who worked down in Eugene, and it was interesting because I actually used to be I was a Eugene police officer for many years before coming up here, and there was virtually no comparison to the traffic patterns in Portland and Eugene as there is here in Newburgh. The comparison just isn't the same. The Eugene Police Department has a full-time traffic unit of at least a dozen police officers who work Monday through Friday on motorcycles that deal only with traffic enforcement, and they still don't get the compliance on every street, and they still have the traffic fatalities. And I think their Vision Zero really is a response to a real problem of people getting hit and killed in vehicle crashes in their city limits. Now, I haven't seen those types of specific problems here in Newburgh yet, but of course, as Newburgh grows and population increases, you start getting higher density residential housing, those types of issues will pop up. And I hope that they can stay down the road as long as we can delay it. But just from my personal experience in the public safety realm for about 20 years, I'm not as alerted to the speeds in our residential districts as I would be, as every crash we go to in downtown Newburgh is somebody who's on their phone, who has looked down and they look up and somebody stopped right in front of them and they crash. That is the bulk of the type of traffic collisions that we're going to. Or It's a person driving when they shouldn't be after having too much to drink. And fortunately, they haven't killed themselves or another person yet. Just from my perspective, that's really where I hope we dedicate our resources to minimize that stuff before, you know, inevitably we have a bad traumatic thing happen here. Just my 2 cents.
And certainly if we wanted to go down the path of an educational, you know, if we wanted to take on one of these things a year, say, and really push, or, you know, for half a year or whatever, really work with our community engagement and get information out about distracted driving, you know, what that means, you know, and what the impacts of that are. There are a lot of resources we get. Does everybody, the new folks probably don't, does everybody else get the emails from Oregon Impact on a monthly basis?
Mhm.
Okay, next time I get mine, I will make sure I forward it out to the group. And basically they talk about the different traffic safety programs that they're running. They have different education programs and those types of things. So we can certainly utilize some of that information if people are interested, if that's where we want to go on that take of it. So just, I will make sure when I get the next newsletter, I will forward it on to the group, and then you can subscribe yourself to that. I quit sending them out because I felt like everybody was getting them and probably get them from me and from them. And I didn't want you guys overloaded with those things. So, but I can make sure I get those out to everybody.
Okay. I'm feeling like the sense of the group is to focus more on some of those issues that are more specific to Newburgh, or I guess that our police department see a lot in Newburgh, like the distracted driving or driving under the influence. Is that a direction that we would like to take, either in terms of educating ourselves more about the issue or working to do some kind of education program, you know, for the public? Any?
This is Jeff Grider here.
Thanks, Jeff.
I think that would be a great idea. Looking at the duties of our commission. I mean, I picked out 3 or 4 of them that have to do with what you've just described. And I was trying to figure out, you know, the first thing that we need to do is gather data. And it sounds like we might have some initial information here soon from what digging the sergeant's going to do. But our ability to, you know, coordinate with the school systems, fostering public knowledge and support of, you know, there's people that have spent way more time than we ever will on effective campaigns to educate the public about different problems that do exist and may exist here. So I think that would be an effective way to utilize our power as a safety commission.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Jesse.
Yeah, just to kind of jump on that, I think maybe if we're going to take any kind of actions like education programs or any direction, it should be data driven. So like we said, Sergeant Hagan, if you could get us some statistics that would help us clarify where the major problem areas are with regards to the safety issues and traffic safety issues in town, then that would help drive us as far as, you know, where we look initially to maybe create an education campaign or look at other options that are out there as far as actions to take.
Yeah, I will get as much data as I can. And in my head, that would be crash data. Is that what you're envisioning? Like what would be your definition of a problem? In my head, it would be a crash data. But
yeah, that is a good question. It should be defined upfront. Obviously, crash data, I think if we're not dealing with fatalities for the most part, Then the next level would be injury, damage to property. I don't know. Those are the two things that coming to off the top of my head, but you guys have been here longer than I have. You probably have some better ideas than I.
The other thing that would pop up in my head would be like, speeding. And you guys have already asked for some more specific data. If I can get that categorized and go through all the tickets to see, separate the speeding out from the other violations that we issue, see if I can get it that specific, that would in my head be helpful as well. And I'll work on that.
Okay, thank you. Oh, Brett.
I just want to appreciate the evolution of the conversation, and seeing, I think that we're looking at getting data points from our inputs, which is, our law enforcement. But then I also just had a question: is there an input from the engineering department of the city? Right? Are they doing things for our community where we as a traffic safety commission can help communicate, bolster ideas, get information, and say, oh, well, this is happening at the engineering level. Can we be doing something to improve that work?
Yeah, great thought. Several members of this commission attended a presentation a few months ago by a engineer on traffic safety, and one of the key points of his entire presentation is the three parts of traffic safety, the 3 E's, you could say. That's enforcement, education, and engineering. So yeah, all those come together to make the safest, traffic situations. Greg.
I just wanted to add really quick, Brian, when you're looking at common speeding areas, I would like to also see the most common violations, not just speeding, whether those are stop sign or crosswalk violations or that sort of thing. I would like to see if those are, or maybe you even know if those are relatively common in the city.
Could you repeat the question one more time? Like what specific?
Sure. What the most common violations are besides speeding, whether they're running stop signs or crosswalk violations, red lights, that sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah, I will, off the top of my head, I can, again, it's going to go back to the speeding is probably a big one. Driving while suspended is a big one. Driving uninsured because they don't have a driver's license, and no insurance company in the world insures them when they don't have a driver's license. So driving uninsured comes and goes. And then, driving under the influence. But certainly there's lots of other little violations that get sprinkled in there. So I'll try to get that narrowed down a little bit, see if there's some other info that even I can learn from. So
sure. But in general, you'd say there's not a lot of different moving violations.
I don't know specifically, to be honest with you.
Sure.
It's usually you go to hot spots, as people in the community. For example, Roger mentioned stuff in the greens from time to time, and so we'll try to do a balance of having an officer sit out there for a while or have a radar trailer. Right now, based on the data from the radar trailer, overall, you don't see a pattern of a giant speeding problem. Certainly there hasn't been any reported accidents, but it doesn't mean that if I'm Roger and I live in the greens, it sure is annoying to have somebody, even once an hour speed by your house and you'd like to have some service. So we try to tailor it based on citizen complaints, but also want to be effective with how we logistically deploy our resources. I don't want to have an officer sit in one neighborhood for 2 hours and maybe not catch a speeder when I know that there's 10 people running a red light at Portland and Springbrook where we should be out spending time there. Gotcha. So there isn't like a specific formula that we do every shift. So we try to mix it up a little bit to put fires out throughout town. But we can all agree that there's usually the same hot spots that we talk about: Winooski, Illinois, some Main Street stuff, Deborah Road. You know, it's usually the same 5 or 6 places that keep coming up. And so we try to deploy resources and just put the fires out as best we can, understanding that we're probably never going to solve speeding in the greater issue as long as human beings have control of the accelerator, but we can do our best. Now, that being said, there's a lot of violations that do occur in the meantime, in between, and I'll try to look for that data for you to see what other kinds of stuff that the traffic guys are writing, because they're out there way more than I am specifically. So,
Gotcha. Thank you.
yep.
So just to summarize our conversation so far, we're looking to get more information, more data from the police department specifically, and engineering as applicable regarding these major traffic safety issues: distracted driving, driving under the influence, speeding. And then based on that data that we get at our next meeting, we'll make a decision about some sort of education campaign that we might like to take on as a commission, in concert with the community engagement specialist with the city and other resources that we might be able to use. Does that about sum it up? Did I miss something? Something anyone would like to add? Okay.
Karin, I will need a full-time assistant to help me with these statistics. So I assume that city.
Me too.
Okay, thank you. I look forward to that conversation. I'm just kidding.
Aren't there some high school students who want to come do some data analysis or something, right? You know, don't they all have senior
Maybe.
projects to do?
That's true. I'll look into that too.
Where's Casper? We need him tonight.
Leslie, one other comment that came up though was alternate transportation or alternate. Yeah, so I think that's something that not only just safety concern issues, but the alternate modes of transportation.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
So if we put in there about complete streets, because different forms of transportation are kind of included in the complete streets program, do you think that would be something we would want to do, is add that to our list as the complete streets program, and have the alternate forms of transportation basically kind of all encompassed under that, or break it out separately?
I didn't quite follow you. Could you say that again?
So the complete streets program that we've talked about previously, my recollection is under that, it talks about all forms of transportation, being bicycles, walking, pedestrian, and things like that. I'm wondering if we want to just add under education, training opportunities, the complete streets program, and then that will encompass what Roger's talking about, alternative forms of transportation.
Got it. So adding to our work plan ideas, basically, of you know, a learning session about complete streets.
Yeah.
Which includes, yeah, alternate transportation.
I suggested that way. That way we just don't make it so broad that it becomes such a big animal that it's hard for us to tackle. If we kind of follow on somebody else's foot or coattails, it might be easier for us to do something.
Yeah,
not have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. So we've got kind of 2 work plan ideas at this point, learning more about the data with the different traffic safety issues for Newburgh, with the goal of creating some sort of education campaign. And then also the other work plan idea is learning more about complete streets.
I will plan to have a presentation on complete streets at the next meeting. And then depending on how many extra people that Brian and I get to help mine some data, you know, we'll bring that back at the next meeting also to start talking about that.
Okay. Yeah, we just gave you a whole lot of homework. Any other comments on the work plan idea? We've got I think two good directions that we're talking about here. Okay, moving on to old business, we had, Vision Zero. Okay, I think we've covered that. And then, oops, where's my agenda? I think we've also got it seems to be a standing item on our old business, the worst intersection list of Newburgh.
Yeah, did anybody have any that they wanted to add? I mean, I cannot bring it back to the meet, continue to bring it back on the agenda, just so we don't forget about them, I guess.
Can I
I
just
like
ask
the idea of having it. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Jeff. I was just going to ask, can you define what worst intersection means? Like what metrics go into saying, hey, this is on the list?
That's a great question. It's pretty loose. This was several meetings, maybe even a year or two ago, I think. Tony, our chair, just kind of threw it out to all of us to say, hey, what do you think are the worst intersections in town? And so we just all kind of defined it on our own. It's a pretty loose collection of intersections that are difficult and unsafe for a lot of different reasons, basically.
Yeah, if I recall, this was basically the result of a brainstorming session.
Yeah.
And we've had several attempts at, well, is there a way to check our perceptions? Is there any data? And we haven't seemed to have gotten there. So I don't know if it just doesn't exist or if it just, we haven't found a way to, add some facts to our perceptions. But this was basically as however many people on this, that many users of roads on Newburgh's brainstorm. Off the top of your head, what's an intersection that you perceive to be dangerous?
Jesse?
I guess my question with this list is, what is it for? Why not, I mean, I get it that the people think these are dangerous intersections, but what are we going to do about it? Are they just there for us to agree that they're dangerous, or are we going to take any action?
Well, let me jump in here. So there are a couple of these intersections that are actually on the list for engineering to start taking a look at that we had talked about. The number 9 on the list, the Highway 240 Main Street, Illinois. There's unfortunately what we found out, and we had this discussion with ODOT, is most of these are on ODOT facilities. So we don't always have a whole lot. We can participate in the discussion, but they get to ultimately make the decision about what that looks like. The second in Everest, Villa, Oregon 219 kind of conversation has been one that's been ongoing. And actually I need to get on ODOT about running some traffic counts again. So for those of you who don't know, when the bypass went in, they cut off that there's really only one full access way out of the neighborhood between basically Hoover Park and 219, that neighborhood south, 2nd Street, 3rd Street, Everest, that area through there. When they put the median in on 219 at 2nd, it allowed only one full access out of that neighborhood. So we had pushed back on the ODOT about putting a signal in there because it is difficult to get in and out of there safely. And they had committed to run some traffic counts. Unfortunately, they ran some counts and then COVID hit, which meant all of our traffic went down, and they said, well, it doesn't meet any of the warrants, which are the criteria to install a signal. And I've been waiting for the traffic to really get back to more normal before I ask them to run those counts again. And it's probably at that stage to ask them to run those counts again and see where we land and whether or not we can get a signal installed at that intersection. So that is one of, there are a couple of these that are on the list. It just, we haven't got there yet. And I can update this list a little bit about, with a short answer about what we're doing or not doing, as the case may be, about it, and whether or not we have something in our 5-year plan and that type of thing to address them, if that would be helpful for the group.
Yeah, Karn, again, we're adding more homework to you. But since we do have several new members, I think that would be a really helpful reference point.
You can do that.
Okay, let's see. Oops. There we go. Okay. So, oh my goodness. Sorry, I'm on my phone. I clicked the wrong thing. Here we go. Okay. That is about the end of our agenda. We always go around just for items for the good of the order. So let's see, let me get back to my video. There we go. Okay, I will go in the order that I see you. If you have anything you'd like to share, feel free to share it. Otherwise, you can just pass. That's fine. So, Brett, I'll start with you. Anything to share for the good of the order?
No comments except for a thanks for everybody for joining me as a new person, joining a pretty awesome group of people. So thanks.
All right, thank you. Mark.
Nothing further. Thank you, everybody.
Jesse.
Nothing to add. Thank you.
Okay. Greg.
Just thank you to Cara and Ryan for all the time that you spent and apparently will spend getting information for us. It's really appreciated.
Roger.
Just lots of good discussion. I like the direction that we talked about, the kind of more of a focus. I thought that was very good discussions.
Neil.
I'm good, thank you.
Jeff.
I would just like to thank everybody who's joined us recently. This is a good group. I'm glad that we have new folks here. And the one other thing, I don't know what the most current edition of the map that I received when I first started on the commission. I know there's been at least one revision since then, but that was one of the most useful things I had when I first started, was the ability to, fold out a map and see where these different areas are that I wasn't necessarily familiar with that we were talking about. So I know we all have the internet and stuff, but nothing beats an actual map. So.
Would you want?
Sure.
Would you want it in paper? I'm just trying to figure out how to get it to you.
I
Since we
think
don't
I
meet in
have
person.
one. I was thinking more of the new folks. I don't
Right.
know.
No. And
I would appreciate one on paper.
Yeah, the fact that it's paper. I have a 2013 and a 2018 here, so I think that would be worthwhile to get that out to folks.
yeah, I can definitely, I
Well, I
can
must-
put it in the mail to you, to everybody, if that would be
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah, that'd be great. I no longer print out the agenda and everything and put it in this binder, so it hasn't grown in a little while thanks to our remote meetings, but that was always very helpful and still is. So, and thank you for all the research. I think maybe the high school student suggestion was partially in jest, but between high school students in general, and I imagine there's some sort of statistics class, we might be able to engage folks once we come up with the data and then go, whoa, that's a lot.
Yeah, applied, students always need good real world experience. So if anyone knows any math teachers at the high school, we can get something started. Yeah, just to echo everyone else's comments, Karn and Brian, thank you so much for all your work preparing for this meeting and preparing for our next meeting. To our new members and our returning members, thank you tonight for this conversation. I think these conversations that we have in this group are always very thoughtful and organic. I think we end up going in a good direction. This is not where we started the meeting tonight, but I think we're headed in a great direction. So thank you, everybody, and we will see you at our next meeting online.
Actually,
Carl.
let me throw in, okay, for those folks new, again, all of the communication will be through your Newberg, Oregon email address. I know it's a pain, but unfortunately, that's the way we have to do it for public records law stuff. We have not seen yet from IT any of our electronic training or anything like we have to do. But watch for that in case it comes up, because they will give us a deadline when that occurs, unfortunately. And if you have a problem, reach out to IT. They can get you back logged in. Basically what they'll do is they'll set everything to some kind of admin, generic password to get you back into the system. So, and if you still have problems, certainly reach out to myself or Sandy. Sandy Baxter is the engineering's admin. She works part-time. So you'll get the emails from her basically with these agendas. You're already getting that. But if you have issues and you can't get me, go ahead and reach out to her or reach out to both of us, and one of us will make sure we get information back to you.
All right. Thank you, Karn. I guess we should vote to adjourn the meeting. This is an actual official meeting. So may I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Second,
I'll
please.
second.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Oh, yes. Okay, good. Meeting
Aye.
adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks,
Good night,
everyone.
everybody.
Good
Have a
night.
great night.
Good night.